Not every tear shed at a graveside is honoring God. Some tears carry faith, some carry surrender, and some carry words so dangerous that they follow the mourner home and take root in their spirit for years. And you may have spoken them yourself, standing beside a casket, without ever realizing what you were releasing over your own life. Today, I want to show you something the church almost never talks about. We are going to talk about 7 dangerous things Christians do at funerals. Things that feel natural, things that feel human. Some of them even feel holy, and yet they can quietly open doors God never intended to be opened over your grief. 1 Thessalonians 4:13 gives us the framework for everything we are about to say. Brothers and sisters, we do not want you to grieve like the rest of mankind, who have no hope. Notice what Paul does not say. He does not tell you not to grieve. He tells you not to grieve like someone who has no hope. There is a way to stand at a grave that honors God, and there is a way that quietly agrees with death. Most believers have never been taught the difference. Let us walk through it carefully. Number 1, speaking death over your own life. The casket in front of you is not the only thing that can be buried at a funeral. Sometimes people bury their own future with their own words. Let me be very clear before I go any further. Grief is not a sin. Crying is not weakness. Falling apart at a graveside does not make you a bad Christian. Jesus himself wept. This is not about your tears. This is about your words. I once stood near a woman at her husband's burial, and in her pain, she said something I have never forgotten. She said, "I died with him today. My life is over too." She meant it as love, but she did not say it once. She said it for years, and slowly, that sentence became a prison. She stopped living. She stopped hoping. She buried herself with a phrase. Proverbs 18:21 says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue." Those words are not poetry. They are law in the spiritual realm. What you declare over yourself at your lowest moment does not disappear when you leave the cemetery. It goes home with you. The grave was meant to hold one person that day. She climbed in with her words. Grieve fully, but do not speak death over the life God is still asking you to live. Number 2, praying to the dead instead of to God. The moment a believer starts speaking to the casket instead of to the Father, a line has been crossed that Scripture takes very seriously. I have watched sincere, loving Christians stand over a grave and say things like, "Watch over me now. Guide me from up there. Send me a sign. I know you can hear me." It sounds tender. It sounds like love, but it is a slow drift into something the Bible directly forbids. Deuteronomy 18:11 warns against anyone who consults the dead, and Isaiah 8:19 asks a piercing question. Why consult the dead on behalf of the living? Your loved one is not your covering. Your loved one is not your intercessor. There is only one mediator between you and God, and it is not the person in that casket. It is Jesus. Honor the dead by remembering them, but bring your request to the only one who can actually answer them. Number 3, accusing God at the graveside. There is a prayer of grief that pulls you closer to God, and there is an accusation disguised as grief that quietly pushes him away. I understand the pain behind this one more than you know. When death arrives too soon, when it takes the wrong person, when it makes no sense at all, something inside you wants to point at heaven and demand an answer. Why did you take them? What kind of God allows this? I am not telling you to hide your pain. God can handle your honesty. But there is a difference between pouring your heart out to God and putting God on trial. Look at Job. In a single day, he lost his children, his wealth, everything. And in that exact moment, Job 1:21 tells us he said, "The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised." He worshiped in the very moment most of us accuse. You can bring God your broken heart without accusing him of a crime. One of those is worship. The other is a wall you build with your own hands. If this message is already taking you back to a graveside you have stood at, brother, sister, please subscribe to this channel and write in the comments, "Lord, I trust you even with my grief." Now let us continue, because the next 4 are the ones almost no one is willing to talk about. Number 4, comforting people with lies. Not every comforting sentence is a true one, and a gentle lie spoken at a funeral is still a lie. You have heard them. You may have even said them. God needed another angel. Everything happens for a reason. This was all part of God's plan to take them. We say these things because silence feels unbearable and we are desperate to fill it with something. But people do not become angels when they die. And telling a grieving mother that God took her child on purpose can plant a bitterness toward God that lasts a lifetime. 2 Corinthians 1:3 calls him the God of all comfort. Real comfort comes from truth, not from a comforting fiction. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can offer at a funeral is not an explanation at all. It is your presence, your tears, and the simple, honest words, "I don't know why, but God is near." Real comfort does not need a lie to hold someone up. The truth is heavy enough to carry them. Number 5, making desperate vows in the heat of grief. Grief is the worst possible moment to make a promise to God, and it is the exact moment most people make one. Standing over a loss, the human heart starts to bargain. God, if you get me through this, I will never miss church again. I will serve you fully. I will change everything. It sounds like devotion, but it is negotiation born from pain, and most of those vows are broken within the month. Ecclesiastes 5:5 says it plainly. It is better not to make a vow than to make one and not fulfill it. God is not standing at that graveside waiting for you to bargain your way out of your sorrow. He is not a merchant trading comfort for promises. He is a father asking for your trust. Do not promise him your future in a moment when you cannot even see tomorrow. Simply say, "Lord, I do not understand, but I am yours." That is worth more than 100 vows made in panic. Number 6, burying unforgiveness with the body. Sometimes the casket goes into the ground carrying far more than a body. It carries every word that was never said and every offense that was never released. I once knew a man who had not spoken to his brother in 11 years over an argument neither of them could even fully remember. He always told himself there would be time. One day he would make it right. Then he got the call. And he found himself standing at his brother's funeral, realizing the conversation he had been putting off would now never happen. He carried that stone in his chest for the rest of his life. Ephesians 4:26 warns us not to let the sun go down on our anger. And Mark 11:25 ties our forgiveness of others directly to God's forgiveness of us. Here's the hard truth about a graveside. Forgiveness there is no longer for the person in the casket. It is for the living person who still has to walk away and keep breathing. Do not lower unforgiveness into the ground and then spend years standing on top of it. Number 7, turning to mediums, rituals, or spiritists to reach the departed. Desperation makes people do at a funeral what they would never do at any other altar. This is the most dangerous one on the entire list, and it is the one the church is most afraid to name. In the rawest moment of loss, people will do almost anything to feel connected one more time. The candle lit to summon a presence, the medium promising a message, the reading, the ritual, the ceremony designed to make contact with the one who is gone. Look at King Saul in 1 Samuel 28. In his desperation, he sought out a medium to reach the prophet Samuel, and that night marked the final unraveling of his life. Leviticus 19:31 could not be clearer. Do not turn to mediums, for you will be defiled by them. When you try to open a door to the dead, you are not reaching your loved one, who is safe in the hands of God. You are reaching for something else entirely, and what answers you in that place is never who you are hoping for. I want to say something important before we close. This message is not meant to make you afraid of grief or ashamed of your tears. Grief is not the enemy. Grief is love with nowhere left to go, and God is not offended by it. Remember, Jesus stood at the tomb of his friend Lazarus and wept, even though he already knew he was about to raise him from the dead. The Son of God cried at a funeral, so you are allowed to fall apart. Psalm 34:18 promises that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. God is not asking you to grieve less. He is asking you to grieve with hope. A graveside is holy ground. It is one of the few places where heaven and earth feel close enough to touch. So guard what you speak there. Guard what you agree with there. Because the words spoken over a casket have a way of following you home and shaping the years that come after. Grieve honestly. Weep freely. But do not release anything over your own spirit that God will have to spend years undoing. Death does not get the final word over a child of God. Jesus already made sure of that. If this message has opened your eyes today, I want you to do one thing right now. Write in the comments, "Lord, I grieve with hope." That is not just a sentence. It is a declaration of faith, and God honors every word of it. And if you know someone who is walking through a season of loss right now, someone standing near a grave with the wrong words on their lips, share this video with them today. It could be the word that protects their spirit when they cannot protect it themselves. Do not forget to subscribe so we can keep growing together in biblical wisdom every single week. God bless you deeply, my brother, my sister. Until next time.